All right, so here we are changing the rear brakes for 2013 Scion Tc. I've already got it jacked up. I just put it right there on the lower control arm. We have our jack stand on the pinch weld. Okay, sometimes the wheel gets stuck, especially if there's rust. If you live, especially in the Northeast, I was in Rochester for a little bit. Pretty much what you gotta do, or what I do, is I kind of support it right here, and you're gonna hit the top, just like that, and it breaks it free. All right, so what I'm gonna take off first is this bolt right here. I am using, I believe it's 14 mil. Got a tight fit. I'm not gonna take it off entirely, because when you do this bottom one, it needs to somewhat be secured so that it'll have some support. Otherwise the whole thing will start moving. Alright, now that I loosen those off, I'm gonna put them aside. I like to use this little magnet holder so I don't lose my bolts or anything. This should slide right off. Okay. There's not a whole lot of play in here because these brake lines and the emergency brake as well. It's kind of holding it, so I just push it to the side. Here's our brakes, brake pads. Clearly need to be changed. So I always try to remember where this little wear indicator is, like in the back, just to kind of match it. All right, so next we're gonna take off this caliper bracket. It's gonna be a 14 mil as well. Can't really see it, but there's one right here and one down here at the bottom. Those are gonna be a little bit harder to take off, so I might have to put the foam down for this. Let's see. Okay. All right. Start breaking that free. Should be able to just twist them off by hand. Alright, I got the bracket off. These are my bolts. Keep them there. So next, we're gonna remove the rotor. As you can see, there's a whole lot of rust on here. Same deal, lived in New York, you're just bound to get a whole lot of rust on here. So what I do is I'll get one of the lug nuts on here just to kind of hold it in place. I'm just gonna use a mallet, and we gotta break it free. I broke it free, so now we can take this off. And this is the old one. Before we actually put on the new rotor. Since this is so corroded on here, I just like to take a wire brush and try and clean it up the best I can. That way it just seats on there much better on the hub. Cleans up the best I could. It's probably best you can get some brake cleaner on it or something and clean up a little bit better. I did also forget to mention on these, there is a little slot, 2 little slots here where you can actually get a screw inside of there, and that's probably much better, an effective way in order to take these off. All right, here's our new rudder. What I like to do is just wipe them down real quick, because they do put like this little oil on it just to kind of preserve it and prevent it from rusting up while they're packaged away. Again, you could use some brake clean and just spray it real quick. This is pretty straightforward. Just gonna line it up, get it on there. And I like to just put the lug nuts. Just put 2 of them. You just snug it up just a little bit just to hold it in place while we're doing everything else, and this isn't flopping around. So there isn't necessarily any order to do this, but we got to compress that back in there in order for the brake pads to fit, or we can work on this next. So we'll do this next. You got to take off these little brackets because the brake pads came with new ones. Very rusted up. I'm gonna use a little mini screwdriver. Because it's in there real good. Just snap right in. Oh, I was gonna say too, I just wiped it down with the wire brush. Much better with if you use brake cleaner. But pretty much these are straightforward. See, this right here is just gonna go into that little slot, and it should just snap in. All right, I needed 2 hands for that. It was kind of snug, but yeah, it'll click in. Pretty straightforward. So if we look at our slide pins, you can see there's not a whole lot of movement there. It's kind of stiff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these out. Be careful with this boot not to rip it or anything. Again, this would be better with 2 hands. Okay, there we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is we'll just wipe these down. As you can see, they're already pretty dry, but it's kind of dirty up in there, so. That dirty grease off of it. Okay. And I'm using this silicone paste. You don't have to go too crazy, but just get a little bit on there. All right. And then it just slides right back in, just like that. And you want to make sure that the boot slides back over that little part right there, so it locks it in. And as you can see, it's definitely not as stiff, so looking good. Sometimes if it's not like as springy, you can always pull it back out and then just add more. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I know these were pretty dry, so I'll put a good amount. So you push all the way in. So this one you can see is not very springy like I was saying. Okay. So we'll just take this back out. And you can see it pretty much like took all of it. So probably need a little bit more. Okay. Oh yeah. Much better. And take off that excess. Probably a little bit too much, but it's alright. So, yep. You can always wipe off the excess. So now, as you can see, they're both pretty good. I had to use two hands, but I'm just putting this bracket back on. So you pretty much do the reverse of what we did. It's gonna be, you can't really see, but you have your bolt right there. And you just line up the holes and get your caliper bolts in there. And right now, I'm just hand tightening them. I'm gonna turn on the flash since it was getting kind of dark. So this I ended up just compressing a little bit more, took a rag and wiped off all that excess on there. Got my 2 caliper bolts right here, 14 mil. I just tightened it by hand. Next we gotta compress this piston right here. I just picked this up at AutoZone. And pretty much how it works, the little grooves, and you've got to twist it in. So the problem with these is when you start to twist them, sometimes the boot on this will start to get all crumpled up, and then that's not good. So what I do to kind of combat that is we're gonna peel it back a little bit and then try and get some paste in there. All right, now that I got the silicone in there, this spins pretty easily. As you can see, it's not grabbing the boot or anything like that. So I'm gonna finish this with 2 hands so I can hold it correctly, but as you can see, so we're gonna spin it all the way until it goes down. All right, now that I've got it compressed all the way down, now I can get my new brake pads on there. Just put a little bit of anti-seize on the back right here. Okay. So, not a whole lot. We can just spread it around by hand. Some people, when I was at Toyota, they put it in between the shims. I guess we just spread it all the way around. Put a little bit too much. No big deal, we don't need a lot. Okay, and then obviously be careful not to get any on the brakes, because you don't want that in your rotors or anything. So I'm actually going to take off my gloves just because I have some on here. So it's the same on both sides. You see this little divot just kind of opens up, and you just slide your pads in. Let's see. Okay. All right. I got that back one slid in. You can see it better here in the front, but it's the same idea. You just slide it in. You kind of have to get it behind there first, and there you go. And now we have this to put back on. Okay, sorry I couldn't get it on video, but I was actually having a hard time getting this caliper back on. I didn't compress the piston all the way down, so make sure you have it as far down as you can get it, or at least just enough. But pretty much you just get this, just slides back on top of your brakes, and you want to line it up right here with your little slide pins. And I have this right here, so you got to kind of adjust it. There you go. And you want to always do it by hand first. Make sure you're not cross-threading anything. All right. So we got this. So we got our caliper back on. We got the caliper bracket. We have our brakes on as well. And I actually do not have the torque specifications for this, but you just want to make sure everything is nice and tight. Yeah, it was pretty tight. Okay. And you just feel it, and you just get it on there pretty tight. Caliper bracket bolts, those for sure you want to get really tight. I think it's something like 70 foot-pounds or something around there. So you just want to make sure it's not going anywhere, and you'll be good. I'll take this off. All right, got my wheel on. Last part's gonna be this. 76 foot-pounds. You just want to do it in a star pattern. All right. Thank you guys for watching.